Hey traders, Jason here from Love Brothers. So in this video, I'm going to talk about different asset classes, how they performed in 2025, how they performed relative to past years. Going to look at foreign markets, domestic markets, commodities, gold, Bitcoin and stuff. Just get an idea of like how was 2025 and how did it compare to previous years, and are there any patterns, or is there anything we can pull from it that gives us insight into 2026. Let's get after it. Okay, I have here a table. This was posted by Charlie Bilello. He posted it on X, so I don't think I'm violating anything by using it because he posted it for free. And what it shows is that it has asset classes over here. Okay, and I'll delete these lines. Asset class over here, and then here's the performance of the asset class in 2011, 2012, 13, 14, all the way until 2025. Okay, this table is sorted by performance of 2025. And then over here on the right, you have the cumulative 2011 to 2025 gain, and then the annual gain. And then at the bottom here, you have the highest return and the lowest return for each year. So for example, Bitcoin was the highest return this year, and whatever this EEM thing is, one of the bonds was the lowest that year. Okay, so let's go through a few things here. All right, first thing that jumps out at me is the performance of Bitcoin. Okay, going back to 2011, Bitcoin was the best for 3 years in a row. Then it was the worst. Then it was the best for 3 years in a row. Then it was the worst. Then it was the best for 3 years in a row, the worst, best for 2 years in a row, then worst. Every single year, it's either the best or the worst. It's never just kind of lukewarm in the middle. It either does incredibly well or it does incredibly poorly. And the sum of that has produced a huge gain. So I thought that was just interesting. So what's going to happen next year? Obviously, we don't know. If history repeats, Bitcoin will either do extremely well or extremely poorly. We don't know, but I just think it's interesting to point out that it tends to be either great or terrible, never somewhere in the middle. Next thing that stands out to me is right here, GLD. GLD gold was the best performing asset class in 2025, and if you look back here, there are no other instances where GLD was the best. This is the first time, at least since 2011, that it was the best performing group. And if you look at the performance year to year, you see a mixture of red and green. So sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. The gain here, the cumulative gain over the time period, is actually not that big relative to the rest of the column here. I mean, it's somewhere in the middle. But I'm kind of wondering, and I don't have the answer to this, I'm wondering what the meaning behind this is. Okay, there are no other instances when GLD led. Certainly there are in the past. I don't have them in front of me. But I'm just kind of curious, like what is the meaning behind GLD leading the market? What is the meaning behind it posting the biggest gain of anything out there? It's worth asking. It's worth going back in time and finding out, what happened after the last time. What is the meaning behind gold doing so well? Next thing that I noticed is that, again, this is sorted in order of 2025 performance. So we have developed international markets and emerging international markets were number 2 and number 3 behind GLD. After that, let me change colors here. After that, you have NASDAQ 100, U.S. growth, U.S. large caps, U.S. value, U.S. small caps down here, U.S. mid caps. Okay, so for at least 2025, foreign markets did better than U.S. markets. Okay, is that meaningful? I don't know. Will it continue? I don't know. It's just worth pointing out that the U.S. market did pretty well, but actually international markets did better. Okay, but, and I'll keep the color here. If you look over here at the cumulative return, if you look at the biggest numbers here, not including Bitcoin, it's a different case, but the biggest ones are, here's NASDAQ 100, biggest gain over that time period, U.S. growth, S&P 500, U.S. value, small caps, mid caps. These are among the biggest ones. So even though international markets did better in 2025 than U.S. markets, over the course of time, the U.S. markets completely dominate. I mean, you look at this, NASDAQ up over 1,000%, NASDAQ up over 1,000%, S&P 600 and something percent, and then you have international markets are like in line with like bonds. They don't do that well. So over time, this past year, international markets did better, but over time, the U.S. markets have completely and totally dominated. Now, what's going to happen in 2026, we don't really know, but it's just kind of worth pointing out that maybe there's a changing of the guard. Maybe it lasts a couple of years. I don't know. But it's just worth pointing out that like as well as the U.S. did, the foreign markets did much better. Okay, so like overall, the things that stand out as far as what's going to happen next year, the tendency of Bitcoin to be either the best or the worst is worth pointing out, because if it does well, then you're talking about 50 to 100, 200% gain possibly if Bitcoin is the best performing group next year. And if it's the worst, then it's going to probably post another loss. That stands out. And then, of course, gold stands out as a leader. I'm wondering what the meaning is. Do we have a reversion to the mean? Do U.S. markets do better than the foreign markets? Interesting to think about, interesting to ponder. Does it help us in 2026, like predict what's going to happen? I don't think it does. I don't think we can sit here and say there's something in these numbers that definitely point to the market doing a certain thing or following a certain path. We don't really know. I think we could kind of look for international markets to maybe continue to do well, at least at the beginning, but whether that continues well into the year, who knows? There's nothing here that tells me that you could predict 2026 with any amount of certainty, but still interesting to look at. All right, we'll see you next time.